Beginning, captured among the stars. I had been chasing the rumors for years. Whispers about the Nebari Outpost, a hidden fortress on the fringes of the Erythraean Nebula. It was said to house priceless relics from countless worlds, artifacts too dangerous for ordinary humans to possess. I wasn't ordinary. I had been trained in interstellar reconnaissance, survival, and diplomacy, or at least enough to make a living in the void. My vessel, the Eclipse Runner, was old but fast, able to slip past patrols and scan long-range anomalies without detection. But nothing prepared me for what I found. The Nebari weren't subtle. Their orbital station loomed like a jagged crown above the red planet below, its hull shimmering with defensive shields. Automated drones patrolled its perimeter, their sleek frames humming quietly in the vacuum. I maneuvered carefully, masking my ship's energy signature, hoping to scout before being detected. It wasn't enough. A pulse cannon fired without warning. I barely had time to react before my ship was caught in a tractor beam. The Eclipse Runner shuddered violently, systems screaming warnings as I struggled to disengage. Too late. I was pulled inside the station. When the airlock opened, I was met by a line of Nebari guards. They were unlike anything I had seen. Tall, lean, with bioluminescent veins running across translucent skin, their faces angular and eyes solid black, like polished obsidian. Their movements were precise, almost hypnotic. "Identify yourself," one said, voice reverberating with a tonal quality I could feel as well as hear. I tried my usual charm. "I'm a traitor, just passing through." They did not react. Their hands hovered near the plasma spheres at their sides. One stepped forward, scanning me with what I can only describe as a psychic intensity. "You are not who you claim," the lead guard said. His voice seemed to reach inside my mind, and I froze. Before I could respond, the guards advanced, restraining me with force fields. Panic surged, but I struggled to remain calm. I had survived worse. I had to survive this. Then it happened. One guard froze mid-step. His black eyes widened, an impossible expression for a Nebari, and he let go of my arm. The others hesitated. All of them looked at the mark on my neck. The moment their gaze fell upon it, the air itself seemed to tense. The pulse of the station slowed, and I realized this symbol, this mark, was no ordinary tattoo. I had inherited it as a child, etched into my skin during a secret rite on a distant colony. I had always been told it was a protection symbol, something to guard me against forces I could not yet comprehend. I never imagined it would be recognizable to an alien species. The guard's voice was barely a whisper, though it carried across the chamber. "It's her." My heart skipped. "Her?" I asked, confused and wary. The Nebari remained silent, their spears still raised but trembling slightly. I had no time to ponder. The lead guards signaled to their commander. A hatch opened, and a shadow emerged, moving with an elegance that made the room feel smaller, heavier. She was tall, more regal than the guards, and radiated authority. Her skin was patterned with luminescent markings, a living tapestry that pulsed with her heartbeat. But it was her eyes that froze me, violet and iridescent, with a depth that seemed to see through the very fabric of my being. She stopped before me and tilted her head, as if studying a puzzle. Her gaze locked onto the mark on my neck. "You carry the sign of Elyara," she said, voice soft yet resonant. I thought it was lost to the void. I swallowed, unable to speak. My mark, my birthright, the one thing I thought was a relic of human myth, was known here. And I had just stumbled directly into the center of it. Middle the secrets of the mark. Her name was Elyara, a Nebari noble whose family had once ruled a constellation-spanning domain before it collapsed in political intrigue and betrayal. The mark I bore was one of the ancient signs of the Elyaran bloodline, a glyph meant to protect and identify descendants. Somehow, through a long-forgotten exodus, it had appeared on my family centuries later. The guards lowered their spears entirely, stepping back. Elyara studied me with growing intensity, almost like a scientist examining a rare specimen. "You are human," she said, almost to herself. "Yet you carry our protection glyph. How?" I don't know," I admitted. "It was passed down in my family. I was told it protects against danger, but I never knew it was real." Her eyes softened slightly, though the intensity remained. "Real? Child, this mark is not mere superstition. It is a key, and it is dangerous in the wrong hands." "What do you mean?" I asked. "The Nebari have fought many wars," Elyara explained, pacing slowly. "And the bloodlines of the Elyaran were hunted after the Great Schism. Those who bear the mark are considered potential threats or allies, depending on how they present themselves." I realized I had stumbled into something far beyond petty heists or galactic salvage. I was a symbol now, a living key in a game I did not yet understand. Elyara gestured for the guards to escort me to a secure chamber. She followed, and we traveled in silence, the station's corridors humming with energy. She finally spoke. "You are awake to something greater than yourself," she said. "The mark chooses, not the bearer. And it has chosen you." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Chosen me for what?" "To reclaim the lost Elyaran legacy," she said, eyes glimmering. "The factions that still hunt us will stop at nothing to eliminate every trace. You carrying the mark could tip the balance." I tried to digest her words. I was human. A scavenger, maybe an opportunist, but not a warrior, not a leader, and certainly not a key to galactic power struggles. Elyara studied me again. "You underestimate yourself. Humans are unpredictable. The mark amplifies that." "What happens now?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Now you learn. Training and revelation." Over the next cycles, Elyara taught me to harness the mark's latent abilities. It wasn't magic, it was symbiotic technology embedded in the glyph, a neural network linked to the energy fields of the Nebari home system. It allowed heightened perception, brief manipulation of electronic systems, and even defensive energy pulses. Training was grueling. I struggled to synchronize with the glyph without overloading my human neural pathways. There were moments when I blacked out, my body convulsing as the mark pulsed. But Elyara was patient, guiding me with a calm authority that left no room for failure. During our training, we grew closer. She was not only a mentor, but a presence that challenged every assumption I had about the universe. The Nebari's elegance, their understanding of energy and perception, and Elyara's sharp intellect fascinated me. And yet there was danger. Every movement outside the station was watched. Nebari political rivals had discovered our presence. Spies infiltrated the corridors, looking for any opportunity to assassinate or steal me. One evening, as Elyara and I practiced in the observation deck, the Nebari sun set behind the nebula, casting swirls of red and violet light across the station. "Why me?" I asked, struggling to maintain focus as the glyph pulsed violently. "Because you survived," Elyara said softly. "Because the mark chose someone who could walk among humans and Nebari alike without breaking." "And what if I fail?" "You will not," she replied firmly. "The mark will guide you, as it has guided our people for centuries. But you must learn to trust it and yourself." The first mission. It came sooner than I expected. Intelligence reported that a rogue Nebari faction had captured a human colony for leverage against Elyara's line. They demanded the glyph bearer be turned over, or the colony would be destroyed. Elyara turned to me. "This is your test. You carry the mark into the field. You must negotiate, survive, and retrieve the hostages. I nodded, heart pounding. My skills, my mark, and Elyara's guidance would be tested against the harshest reality I had yet encountered. When we arrived in the conflict zone, the rogue guards blocked our passage. I stepped forward. My neck bore the mark visibly, glowing faintly in the low ambient light. The guards froze. Not one moved. They recognized the symbol. Whispers passed between them in the Nebari tongue. Fear, awe, hesitation. I realized the truth. The mark was not only a tool, it was a legend. We were allowed through. The hostages were released without conflict. The rogue faction retreated, unwilling to face the power symbolized by the glyph. Elyara looked at me with approval. You see now, she said. Even in their aggression, the mark commands respect and survival. Ending the balance of power. Back on the station, I reflected on what had occurred. I was human, yet no longer just a human. I carried a legacy older than most civilizations, a mark that could inspire fear or hope depending on how it was wielded. Elyara approached, placing a hand on my shoulder. You have done well, but this is only the beginning. There are those who will still come for the mark. Those who seek to bend it to their will or destroy it entirely. I understand, I said, looking at my neck, feeling the faint warmth of the glyph. But I know I can face them now. She smiled faintly, violet eyes glimmering. Then we begin the next phase. Together. And as I gazed out into the swirling nebula beyond the station, I realized that life had changed forever. I was no longer just a scavenger or an explorer. I was a symbol, a protector, a bearer of ancient power. And one thing was certain. Any alien guard, any adversary who saw the mark on my neck would pause. They would hesitate. And in that hesitation, they would discover that legends, sometimes, walk among the stars.